And we are live. Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, here with my good friend, Mr. Brett Bandick. How you doing, Brett?
I'm doing great, my man. Happy Monday, and hopefully, all the fathers out there had a good day yesterday. Put down a couple beers, and it was a fun weekend. So back to sports, back to reality. Let's get to it, baby.
Well said. And I wished you one yesterday, but happy Father's Day to you and all the great dads out there. We're going to start this up with the New York Yankees. I figure let's get the rough stuff out first. Yankees reached season low after being swept by the hated Boston Red Sox. And my question to you, Brett, is can the Yankees recover before it's too late? I don't think it's necessarily about the record that has me concerned when it comes to the Yankees. I think it's more about just the utter disappointment that is happening in terms of just the way they're playing. A lot of teams are in the wild card hunt when you're only halfway through. This is more about an energy that makes me feel that the Yankees are going backwards.
Yeah, without judging the lineup, they're just not. The chemistry is just not there. Over time it'll happen, but now is the time of year when you got to pile up those wins. Before the All-Star break. Feeling good about your team. Going into the second half of the season, and right now they're not doing it. I'm not convinced that they're you know uh, a finals that they're gonna get a final spot for the World Series. Like they got to get their crap together, man. But without judging that lineup, they're struggling.
Yeah, and I think it's more than judge. I think the Yankees' biggest strength, and we've said this on previous shows, is their bullpen. Their bullpen has been sensational all year. But when you're
Yes.
putting up one run, two runs without the services of Bader and Judge, you can't beat anybody. It doesn't matter how good your bullpen is. But we've seen this story before. And I feel that what happens when this kind of stuff is going on is that ultimately your bullpen gets too taxed, gets too tired,
Yep.
and now in the second half of the year, you're really pulling too many strings trying to make things work. They are, to your point, a completely different team when Judge isn't in the lineup. But for me personally, my biggest disappointment is that when I look at a team that has guys like Josh Donaldson, Giancarlo Stanton, Gleyber Torres, Anthony Rizzo, is anybody going to step up? Is somebody going to take the reins? And it hasn't happened.
No, hasn't happened yet.
And it really makes me believe that these guys thrive with Judge in the lineup, and none of them can necessarily carry anything right now. In short sample sizes in the past, we've seen Giancarlo Stanton get very hot. But, the man's hitting 200, barely over 200. He's already had an IL stint. Carlos Rodon, rehab assignment soon to come.
Yeah, I was gonna say when is he supposed to come back?
I would have to think with no setbacks just before the All-Star game, the All-Star break, I should say. But this is what we're looking at right now in the wild card. Yankees are literally tied with the Houston Astros, who are also nursing a lot of injuries and on a 4-game losing streak of their own. Both 39 and 33, identical records. We've got the Los Angeles Angels, who are wild card 2, 41 and 33. Wild card 3 is the Baltimore Orioles, 44-27. So just talking about the wild card itself, the Yankees are 6 in the loss column behind the best wild card, and this is where it gets tricky. You have the Toronto Blue Jays, only a half game behind the Yankees, one more loss, same amount of wins. And guess what? The last place Red Sox are only 2 games out of that final wild card now. So, like I said, it's not necessarily about the records. It's more about the momentum. And right now, I'll put it to you like this.
Yeah,
If the Yankees have one more crappy week like they did this past week, Yankees are going to not only be in last place, but they're going to be a 500 ball club.
Yeah. I mean, we had this talk before the season started. That the chances of all four of those teams making the playoffs were everybody had a really good chance. You know what I mean? So nothing's changed as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Um,
And like
you
I
know,
said, it's not about the record. It's about the momentum. This team is not trending in the right direction.
no, not yet, not yet. I
And
mean,
I don't even think it's a matter of not yet. I think it's a matter of not this year.
uh, I don't know.
Um,
I wouldn't say that. I mean, they're a baseball team. Most of the guys on that team are veterans. Um, you know what I mean? So eventually I think they'll turn it on. Probably won't be until after the All Star break, but like I said before, this is the time of year when you need to put up those wins going into the All Star break just so you have something to feel good about.
I just don't see it this year. I don't see it. And I think the real indicator and the God's honest truth is with Judge not in this lineup, it has been proven just how mediocre this team is.
Yeah.
They don't have another guy that you could look at in that lineup and say he's going to carry us because it would have happened already, and it hasn't happened. And not just this year. You can take this back to even last year. And when I think about a team like a Toronto, a team like even Boston, the Yankees have shown me no reason to believe that they're going to stay in front of these two teams right now. And with the resurgence of the Los Angeles Angels, I mean, dude, the Angels not only are wild card too, they're in a position where they could actually make a run at the Texas Rangers in another week or so if they keep playing the way they're playing.
Yeah. And, the MVP of the league, Ohtani, he stays healthy. They got a really good shot. He's got to stay healthy.
And we're going to talk about the incredible Shohei Ohtani. I mean, listen to these numbers, dude. 14 games pitching, 6-2 record, 3.29 ERA, which means that at minimum he's going to be in the conversation for the Cy Young Award. Whether he wins or doesn't, he's in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 72 games played out of a possible 74. 24 home runs, 58 RBIs, 10 steals, and he is hitting exactly on the dot at 300. If this was a question, say, a month ago, I would say, you know what? Aaron Judge right now is leading the way for MVP. But with those two IL stints, Ohtani has definitely jumped Judge. And I've said it going into the season when Zappy and I were kind of busting each other's chops. I said, they have to win some games for Ohtani to really make it to that next level of the MVP discussion. Well, right now they have a better record than the Yankees, and right now they are clicking. I mean, him and Mike Trout going back to back against a team they're supposed to beat. It kind of gives you that vibe that things are finally working for the Angels after all these years of futility and after all these frustrations.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Mike Zappy, Richie's pick for MVP. You're funny, buddy.
Right.
But yeah, I'll tell you what, man. The Angels are for real. I feel that they're trending in the right direction. Houston Astros have similar issues to the Yankees. But given recent history, and to take my fan hat off, if I got to pick somebody that's going to get it together, I'm picking the Astros before the Yankees.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And then you got Toronto, like literally right on our heels. So I guess the message here is the Yankees are in big trouble. And I don't think it's just about, they're starting and this is just halfway through or almost halfway through. I think this is a season problem, not just a right now problem. We're going to find out soon enough if they can turn this around. But I'll be honest, dude, I don't see it. I don't see it this year. I think they're going to miss the playoffs. And I think they might finally be forced to make some moves, whether it's upper management with moving Brian Cashman out of there, whether Aaron Boone pays the price. And I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest Boone fan. And I've had my issues with him over the years, but his players not producing is not on Boone.
I mean, it's a bit of everything. It's a bit of everything. At the end of the day, the coach is going to take the fall.
No, we agree on that. And I do tend to believe that if this team misses the playoffs and if it's an embarrassment, Boone could be out. And if he's not, it opens up the questions for Yankee fans. What's important here? Are they trying to run a business or are they trying to win games? Because you and I both know, right, wrong, or indifferent, the late George Steinbrenner would not tolerate this mediocrity.
Nope, not at all.
And that's when Hal starts coming under question. Does he care as much as his father did? Because there's only so much excuse making you can make. And listen, I understand that Yankee fans are spoiled. I get it. But 2009 to 2023 without a World Series appearance, that, folks, in Yankee country is the equivalent of not making it for 30 years. That is a drought.
100%.
Mike Zappi, when the players are not responding, I put it on the manager. George must be rolling in his grave. I agree with both comments from Zap. We're going to move this along to the NBA. Chris Paul, very interesting. He's on Good Morning America. Told the panel that he found out about this trade while being on the plane, which is really kind of crazy.
That's the nature of the business, though. I mean, how many times does that happen to other players?
Yeah, well, we're not talking about the players, we're talking about him. But I will say it looks like Bradley Beal to Phoenix. They're trying to clean up some of the details. But it very much so looks like Bradley Beal is going to be headed to Phoenix. It appears that Chris Paul, at least for the immediate future, headed to Washington, and that's where it could get interesting, where you could potentially see a buyout, being that it's an expiring contract, or he will be given the option to play for another contender, and the team that keeps emerging is one of his former clubs, the Los Angeles Clippers. So at this point of his career, do you think he's holding on and maybe it's time to finally give it up?
I think it's time to hang the hat for him. This might push him into retirement. I mean, he's a great veteran, a lot of leadership, a lot of experience. But I just, he's not. How do I put it? His body is not LeBron's body. You know what I mean?
Like, question: LeBron's body isn't LeBron's body because that man missed 40 games this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I think he's holding on a little too long, but this move might make him reconsider retirement. So
we'll see how it plays out. It seems like the early indications is that CP3 still wants to play. We'll see how that plays out. Obviously, Washington is not an end-all destination. I think that's a middle place where they can figure out some variables. What's interesting about this trade is Washington does not have the first rounders to give up. So you're looking at a lot of second-round movement. You're looking at second-round movement going to Washington, a lot of second-round picks. Ultimately, this move is about Phoenix coming up short in the playoffs and Phoenix identifying that Chris Paul is indeed part of the problem. Do I agree with it completely? Yeah, actually I do. I think at this age of his career, at this juncture of his career, he cannot be what a team like that needs him to be.
Yeah, I really don't know how to feel about that. I don't think he's the problem. Their playoff woes continued because they don't have a bench. Their starting 4 out of their 5 are the ones that carried the team. Their bench players didn't do shit. You know what I mean? So
while I agree with you, I do agree with you. I think what I'm saying is taking the attention off the bench for a second. When you're one of the big 3 and you're not being a factor, I think that's bigger than what issues might come on the bench. But Zappi agrees with you right here. I don't think he stays the Wizards. Clippers come to mind. And he even said on the previous comment, the Suns bench, it got even worse. I think at this juncture of Chris Paul's career, he's best suited to be a backup point guard, similar to what we've seen from Kyle Lowry out in Miami during these playoffs.
Right.
And we're going to move it along to Nikola Jokic and why he has quietly become the NBA's new face. I'm going to give my opinion short and sweet. The reason why I think he's the new face of the league and why he is the accepted new face of the league is because in an era where you have so many players that are great generational talents constantly moving around. We talked about KD, Brooklyn, the Warriors, the Suns now. We talked about him. Kyrie seems to have a new team every other year now.
Yeah.
we have spoken in detail about LeBron James, some of his career choices over the years. He's the grand exception because he actually does win. We'll give him that, 3 different destinations. But I think the reason why people are embracing Jokic is that he is like the anti-superstar in terms of the way he carries himself, his humble nature. And he, similar to Giannis, which made so many people gravitate to the Bucks a couple of years ago, I feel that he's just all about the game, but not all about the extra. And I think it's refreshing for NBA fans, and I think it helps NBA fans connect with him in a deeper way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and it's his image, because it's not necessarily, he's not a flashy guy, you know, he dresses funny, he acts funny, and I think it's great for the game, to see a player of his size, and his stamina to do what he did this year is mind blowing to me. Um, just because he's a big dude. I mean, how many big dudes do you see run up and down the court like that and put up those kind of numbers?
It's the I think it's just a show and tell of what the league has become now, because it's the evolution of the big man. The
Yep.
era that we grew up watching, we had some phenomenal big men, but they weren't doing that. They weren't putting up 10 assists a game. They weren't hitting threes. When I say Patrick Ewing was a good 3-point shooter, what I meant by that is if he was beyond the arc and he chose to pop one, you wouldn't get mad.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
this is a completely different brand of big men in
the
today's league.
closest thing we ever saw to Joker was probably Keem Olajuwon. You really think
From an
about it.
athleticism and footwork standpoint, they do have similar. They are comparable in that regard.
Mhm.
Jokic, to be honest with you, from an offensive standpoint, kind of reminds me a little more of a Duncan because of his fundamental nature.
Yeah,
Because Duncan, a lot of people would complain during his era, oh, he's boring.
yeah,
Well,
slow.
if boring keeps winning me championships, I'll be bored.
Yes, 100%. He's just fundamentally sound. But yeah, Tip Duncan was a boring player. Joker's not boring. He's actually fun to watch. Yes, he's slow. He gets the job done, but he's actually still fun to watch. With the passes that he makes, and the long threes that he just heaves up.
And I don't find him too slow in the grand scheme of things, because one thing about that guy, he has an unstoppable motor. I look at the way that he was able to get everybody involved, but at the same time make it look rather easy when it was go time and when it was time to score points in the paint.
Yep.
And I think on a bigger scale, with the big proclamation from their head coach right after, like not even at the parade, like literally on the court, he's like, "We want more. We're coming back." We're going to see a lot more of Jokic, and we've been doing these shows about ranking the greatest NBA players by positions on top 10 lists and honorable mentions. That's going to be an interesting part of our center show. Is it time to start considering this guy to jump into your top 10 and start knocking some other names back? You're talking about a 2-time league MVP, and a lot of people feel he should have been the MVP this year.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little too soon for me on that one. I think I should. I need to see him play a couple more seasons.
At this level.
Yeah, yeah. And it's hard to sustain. Especially with a guy his size. But I think it's too early to really put him in that top 10 discussion. I mean, it's debatable. You know what I mean? But I'm just not. I'm not comfortable with putting him in there just yet. Like, I would love to see him play a few more seasons and see what happens.
That's fair. But it will be a good discussion in a future show when we do highlight our greatest centers of all time. We're going to be flipping this over to some NFL news. We're going to start with the New England Patriots and back it up to my team after that. Patriots defensive back Jack Jones made a John Morant tweet a couple of days before his arrest at Logan International Airport. The tweet has now gone viral after he was arrested. Paraphrasing what he said, he was very judgmental of Morant's poor decision making, saying that if you need to have guns, you need to hire armed security if it's that important to you, but you're screwing up your own money. In other words, saying that he was stupid.
Yeah.
Following this tweet, Jack Jones did something that was pretty stupid. 2 loaded guns in his regular luggage. Now, just to let people know, in case they're not sure, TSA's requirements, you need to have your ID card, something that Jones also didn't have. You lock your firearms on and take the bullets out. Locked hard-sided container. Must be unloaded, reported to TSA. None of these things happened, which is just mind-blowing when you think about what you have to lose being an NFL player. It's just, I don't even have words for the stupidity.
I mean, obviously, I know how you feel, but imagine how Belichick feels. I mean, he might possibly get prison time, let alone lose one of his best defensive players, and he's not going to bring him back. Belichick's old.
Yeah.
He's
Well, I will say this.
Cut him.
I will say this. He ain't cutting him. No, he ain't. In the event that he's able to navigate around the legality issues of this that would require him going to jail, I don't think Bill Belichick's in a position to be like, you know what? No, you're not playing. Belichick's not coaching to not win anymore. At his age, yes, he'll play him. Whether it's right or not, he'll play him. But I just can't get past the stupidity of it all. It's like these are simple instructions. Like when I think about even the Brittany Griner thing,
yeah,
I'm not like trying to compare one to the other and, being in a different country. But when you're talking about oils and smoking weed versus this kind of shit, I don't really think there's much of a comparison.
No, there's not.
Especially
with the amount of gun violence in the world, in schools, what I mean? Like, what kind of example are you setting? For future players, kids that look up to these guys.
And I do get that, but I don't want to cross it over into this being violence. People are allowed to own guns. I'm just blown away at the stupidity that nobody knows how to do this properly, or nobody seems to care to do this properly. You can bring guns on planes. There is a certain way that you go about doing it.
Yeah, that's why they get their licenses. They take these classes to be certified, and you should know the laws.
Yeah, it's just mind-blowing. It's truly mind-blowing. And to speak on him on the football side of things, this is one of the young rising stars for the New England defense. And this is a team that's talking right now possibly about adding a DeAndre Hopkins. They already spent some money on a Juju Smith-Schuster. I think the Patriots are making an honest attempt to keep pace with other teams that have phenomenal quarterbacks. The Patriots don't have the phenomenal quarterback, but they're trying to build their team strengths in other ways where they can kind of close the gap on the Aaron Rodgers-led teams, on the Josh Allen-led teams, on the Tua Tagovailoa-led teams. But, this is just such a bad look. And like I said, I cannot refrain from just continuing to say this. So damn stupid.
Absolutely stupid.
I don't get it, man. I just don't get the bubble that some people seem to be thinking in. I'm like, guys, you have such a high privilege of playing a kid's game and making big man money. Why would you mortgage your future doing this kind of shit?
Yeah. Privilege is the key word here. They're almost like all these pro athletes, they're turning into entitled children. You know what I mean? Like, it's just...
I certainly don't get it, and it's like, I don't want to pin this on all athletes because there's some really great ones out there, but this shit is just remarkably dumb. I don't even have words. Going to flip it over to my team for a moment. New York Giants, Saquon Barkley negotiations. In your opinion, Brett, they got about 6 or so weeks, a little closer to 7 weeks, to get a deal done before the deadline. Otherwise, Barkley will either have to sign his $10.1 million tender or choose to sit out and get fined 4 games. How do you think this plays out?
I think they'll sign him. And he's not the type of player to hold out. He loves the game, loves being around his team. I don't think he's going to hold out at all, but I think the Giants will get their shit together and actually, get this guy, a decent deal. I mean, he improved a lot last year. He stayed healthy last year. Um, they got to pony up the dough. You got to pony up the dough if you want to keep him. He's a franchise guy. I said that. Direct words out of my mouth when you drafted him. You know what I mean? He's a franchise guy. Sign the dude.
I think I think the real holdup here is not so much that they don't value him or that they don't view him as a Giant for life, which they do agree with that they would like to see ultimately be the result. I think what it really comes down to is figuring out what is fair. When you're talking about a guy like Miles Sanders who had a similar stat line, Miles Sanders is substantially making a lot less this season than what franchise tag would be. Franchise tag is 10.1. Sanders is making $6 million a year. If you look at the back of their trading cards, the stats are incredibly similar.
Yeah.
And Barkley did turn down roughly in the neighborhood of 12.5 million a year. I do believe that he got bad advice from his representatives because the running back market has plummeted. But having said that, I don't necessarily think that every back is like Saquon Barkley. There's got I think where it is with Saquon, he wants to know that X amount is going to be guaranteed no matter what. I think in the Giants case, they are possibly exploring provisions to be like, hey, pal, you missed over 20 games already. Some of this is going to be predicated on how many games you do play. But I think they have to find a sweet spot because, it's been proven over the course of the years. Ask the Dallas Cowboys if they regret paying Zeke that money.
Yeah.
So
I think they'll get their shit together. I think they'll sign him.
I think 3 years is what it's going to take. 4th-year club option. I think Barkley will be okay with the 4th-year club option if the Giants give him the guaranteed that he's hoping for. But I do agree with you, Brett. I do believe that there will be a deal done, and I don't think he'll be playing on the franchise tag this year. I do believe that he's going to be playing on a new contract.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, while, yes, he's not going to sit out, you don't want a guy who's not happy in your locker room.
Especially him.
Yeah, especially him because, a lot of guys look up to him. A lot of guys love him. And
the captain, he's a team leader.
You
got to keep your captains and you got to keep them happy, man. At the end of the day, pony up the dough.
We're going to move it along to Undisputed Truth. Why Shannon Sharpe's departure from Undisputed will prove his true worth. Following the NBA Finals, Shannon Sharpe, in addition to severing ties with FS1's Undisputed show with his co-host, Skip Bayless, he is also taking his incredibly popular Club Shay Shay podcast along with him. He is not on a new deal yet with anyone, but he will most definitely be sought after. It seems like there was a deterioration of their relationship.
Yes.
With 2 particular things that stand out to me, you might agree with me. The controversial DeMar Hamlin comments that Skip Bayless made. In other words, Skip was perturbed that they didn't continue the game. And quite frankly, it was kind of savage and very irresponsible, if you ask me, on Skip's part, to number 1, not take it down, and to number 2, try to validate it and try to dance around something that he typed.
Yeah, I sent you guys a video that was a really, really emotional goodbye. I'm happy for Shannon. 7 years with Skip Bayless is not easy.
No.
You know what I mean? So I give him all the props in the world with that. And to this day, Skip still hasn't apologized for his remarks. You know what I mean? But that was the final straw with Shannon. The whole DeMar, Hamlin situation. That was the last for him. And after that just left a bad taste in his mouth, and you can tell he was just done and over with it. It's just a matter of time before him saying goodbye. But somebody's going to sign him. Somebody will definitely pick him up, whether it be broadcasting booth.
Well, I mean, his club Shay Shay is really what's hitting for him. And he's had some phenomenal guests already on that show. And me being an aspiring podcaster, I definitely enjoy watching his show. I always want to get better here, and I always like to pay attention to what the big dogs are doing. And Shannon has a phenomenal show, and I give him all the credit. The way he left, to me, truly showed how classy of an individual he is. He didn't have to leave on such great terms, but I think he showed that being a true professional is more sustainable and more powerful than lowering himself to the level of, as Charles Barkley would call him, the idiot Skip Bayless. I also want to make one more mention about something that I think really soured their friendship and relationship. And I'm going to say, when speaking on your boy Tom Brady, I feel that Skip was just so very disrespectful without batting an eye, trying to play out Shannon Sharpe and say, oh, Brady was better than you. Last time I checked, Tom Brady wasn't a tight end and Shannon Sharpe wasn't a quarterback.
Yeah.
So to compare the two, who are both Hall of Fame talents, Shannon is already in the Hall. Tom Brady will obviously be in the Hall. It's a stupid argument, number one.
Uh-huh.
And you don't degrade somebody that has the resume of a Shannon Sharpe. I feel that when it comes to having the privilege of sitting across an NFL legend, someone who's won Super Bowls, someone who's seen it all, done it all, and someone who really knows what hard work is all about, when you consider the humble beginnings of Shannon Sharpe, somebody who definitely took the long road to get where he was going, playing at a HBCU. The guy really earned everything he's ever had. 100%. And when you talk about unselfish, what can be more unselfish than giving your first Super Bowl ring to your older brother when you beat your older brother's team? The Green Bay Packers, his older brother's former team, we all know his older brother would have been in the Hall of Fame first ballot if he didn't have that horrible neck injury. Yeah. Shannon's a class dude, man. Straight up class dude. I'm proud of him for leaving the way he did. And they are going to find out, if they don't already know now, that he is going to be sorely missed. And they need him a hell of a lot more than they need Skip Bayless, because Skip Bayless is so far removed from covering.
I don't see that show running, much longer, to be honest with you.
It might.
I mean, I don't even know if they've found a replacement or somebody to fill in.
Well, it's going to take time. You don't just find a replacement that quickly. Stephen A. Ryan Shedd. Stephen A. wants Sharpe on First Take. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That would be interesting. But yeah, Skip, just so disappointed with I feel that he's been getting away with a lot of this crap for way too long. I really appreciated when Mark Cuban put him in his place a couple of years ago. That was awesome. But like I said, when you're sharing your platform with a guy who did it, professional athlete, you show that immediate respect, bottom line.
Yes.
You don't act like you know more than someone who's been inside the wars. And while on the topic, I do want to make a mention, big shout out, Aaron Moorhead. Just wanted to speak on behalf of all the guys here. We greatly appreciate you taking time out of your very busy NFL schedule for hanging out with us, showing us some love. If you haven't already, definitely give that episode a look. It's called Speaking with the Enemy. Really great time. Aaron did a great job of breaking down the ins and outs of being an NFL coach, as well as sharing some awesome stories from his playing days. So definitely make it a point to check that out. And if you haven't already, please also make it a point to like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. Bretsky, anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, man, it was a good show. I really enjoyed, the Speaking with the Enemy show. You guys absolutely killed that show.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely killed. You guys did a phenomenal job. In the future, we're hoping to get some other people on. Not going to mention any names yet. We're going to try and surprise you, but it's going to be a fun summer. Going into the NFL season, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, NFL season not that far away. We are closing up the month of June pretty soon, which means there's only one more month until the preseason. I can't believe it's this close. And with how horrific the Yankees are playing, it can't come soon enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Football is almost back. We'll be keeping you in the know of any new news that's going to be going on, whether it be Saquon Barkley, whether it be DeAndre Hopkins, some of these, whether it be Dalvin Cook, some prolific players that are going to be looking at new deals, potentially new teams in the case of Cook as well as Hopkins. For my buddy Bretsky, I am your host, Richie. I want to wish you guys a good Monday and a great rest of the week. We will be back soon. And I just want to let you know we didn't forget. We are going to be hitting hard on some of those all-time NBA lists. We are definitely going to continue to hit hard on that. Now, in lieu of basketball season being over, we actually have time to focus more on that. Until next time, we are out.